Hello and welcome to the Pride Pod here on Loud and Proud Orlando. I am your host, John Rollins, and I am here with my co-host Luis Carlos Pineda to talk everything Orlando Pride. Luis, how are you on this Monday off-season podcast?
Man, it's Monday of news. I was actually, talking. I was doing the actual thumbnail of today's pod while my daughter was eating dinner behind me, and my daughter's like, "Who's that? Who's that lady?" I said, "Well, that's the best player in the world. That's Marta." She's like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Is she really gonna have a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's gonna have a movie." He's like, "We should go see it, Daddy." I said, "Cool, yeah, we'll go see it." Like, yeah, we'll definitely go see it. So now my 8-year-old is excited about going to see a movie about Marta. So isn't that amazing? And when I heard the news, at first I was like, "Really?" And then I saw who's gonna play, and she's a phenomenal actress. A lot of people probably don't know her, but she's a phenomenal actress that's already been at Orlando, checking out some games, by the way. So this has been on the works, but we'll today discuss Marta's biopic, biopic. I know
She's got a bionic leg now? I'm kidding.
a biopic. The high impact player mechanism, which I'm sure John's gonna have a lot of fun talking about that. NWSL growing pains, Pride squad depth review, and also our off-season shopping list. What position should we boost? And then questions from you guys there at the chat. Thank you for your support. We have here some information, and we have the announcement from Dazón and also Remezcla, and there's like a lot of people saying that Marta will be having a biopic and about her life, and also the championship of Orlando Pride will be featured in there as well. So we have the actress actually right here. This is the actress that's gonna be playing Marta. She's already wearing an Orlando Pride championship kit.
Is she like already a Pride fan, or did she send this picture of her in a jersey? I don't know, but
No,
I
I
like it.
think I think she went to see a Pride game and probably was given the jersey.
Inspiration.
Yeah, her name is Alice Carvalho, who's also appeared in The Secret Agent and also in the series Cangajo Novo. So obviously, the Secret Agent notably was nominated for Best Motion Picture in the non-English category, and so obviously this biopic will be probably in Portuguese because she's an icon in Brazil. She's an icon worldwide, but in Brazil they really respect Marta. Even even the man, like the very established players in the Brazilian national team heavily respect Marta. People like Thiago Silva and Marcelo at some point as well are good friends of her, and Kaká also respects a lot of Marta. So Roberto Carlos, so all those players, like massive names, heavily like bow down to Marta as well. and is going to be directed by Andrucha Waddington, which is also the director of the documentary of Vinny Jr. So it's massive news. I believe I'm so happy that this is going to happen for her. I think this is a great um, worldwide view of Marta's life and her accomplishments, her hurdles, what she's accomplished, the barriers she's broken, and how she inspires all of us. I mean, every single soccer fan in the world, because this is a global sport. And I couldn't be any happier for what a better role model than Marta. So
Yeah, I mean, she's got such a great story. So, I mean, it's sort of like, you make a biopic on Pele. Why wouldn't you make a biopic on Marta? It's the same. I mean, you arguably they're like different players, done different things in their careers, but what they've done for the sport in that country is like the similar level of iconicism, right? I think people hold Marta to that level in that country where she is an icon. She is a goddess in women's soccer to a lot of people. She's up there as one of the best, the GOAT. So I mean, it makes total sense. It was, I think, a matter of time. It was always something that was going to happen. I think when she retired, but she's on the cusp of retirement, right? Like I think it's only a matter of years before she moves on. So it makes total sense. I think a lot of people will write a book and do an autobiography, but a biopic for someone of Martha's level of fame makes total sense. And I think it's exciting. They got a good, I don't know anything about Brazilian, TV, but it clearly seems like this actress Alice Carvalho is well respected, and the director as well. And they've, looking on her history in IMDb, like she's been in some pretty good shows out in Brazil. Like this is not just some random actress. This is somebody that is a known entity in Brazil as well. So, and also they gotta pick the right person for the right role. So she's got to look like Marta. She's got to actually be able to, like, I don't know if they're gonna use Marta maybe and cut in some scenes of Marta dribbling and stuff. Like that would be nice, I think, to bring actual Marta in and have her do the playing stuff and like film her legs and film her body and not, then cut to this actress to do the facial stuff. I think they could do that. I don't see why not. I don't know how you're gonna represent what Marta can do on the ball with another player, right? There's not an endless, if you think about men's, like, films that have happened and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find me an actor." Like, if you're Ted Lasso, they wouldn't have found football to football. You can't find someone that could do what Marta could do in the women's game with her feet. Like, there's really not many apart from Marta. So, I know it's like a different scenario where it's all slowed down and stuff, but I don't see why they can't use her for some of this movie and actually film her playing. That
no,
would be cool.
I just hope that it represents Marta well. I think it's gonna. I mean, it'd be a
Yeah.
smart to
I
put
don't
her
know
in
if
Brazil.
Orlando Pride's gonna make an appearance at any
I
point in
think
this
it is
story. I would
because
hope so.
for what I've had information here, it says it's going to be based on.
Like, her coming to America was a big
Yeah, so
deal.
it says here the biopic is gonna be focused on her life and career. It's gonna start on her humble beginnings in Dois Riachos in Brazil and her incredible career spanning 5 continents. And also is going to record her 6 FIFA World Player of the Year awards and her legacy as a global icon of women's soccer. So it's gonna be great. I think the Pride gonna make a. I think the Pride's gonna be. I bet. Hopefully, we don't know. Maybe they film some of it in Orlando. I don't know. It could be pretty. At least a part for the Orlando Pride part. It could be. I mean, they have the stadium. I'm sure if they ask, Jared or anybody there at the front office, they could be like, "Hey, you want to let us film here with Marta?" I'm sure they're not gonna say no.
I think there's definitely gonna be some involvement by the club if they want it. Like, I don't see why not on that front. Um, Anything else you wanna talk about on the Marta biopic? I think we kinda
Well, I'm
covered
gonna get
everything.
it on DVD. if I ever
We'll
get to meet
see. I don't.
Marta,
Where's it going to be aired? Is it going to go to movie? Do we have any idea who's distributing this? Who has the
I'll
rights?
find out.
Is
I
it
mean, that is
Prime?
concerned right now. I hope it's on Netflix.
Is it on a streamer? Who's funding this thing? Do we know? I don't think
I
so.
have I don't
I
know.
didn't see that in any of the articles I read. So
I don't know, but
we don't know
hopefully,
where to watch it yet. It's very, very early stages, but they've already chosen an actress, so clearly something's happening.
yeah. So they chose Alice Carvalho for the part, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, she kind of looks like. I mean, I don't know if she looks like Martha to you, but I mean, you can drop your comment. I mean, she kind of. She
I think the
looks.
face when you tie the hair back in a pony and she's running around in a jersey, I think it's close enough.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
I'm sure
All
Martha
right.
had to approve. You know who's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
playing
don't
her.
know how much she's involved in this and decision making. There's not a lot of information on this so far, but we will see more. Alrighty, let's talk about Luis. NWSL did the thing, or they're trying to do the thing we don't want them to do, but they're going to do it anyway. They're going down the let's add mechanisms to our roster building route,
Hey,
which I really wish they wouldn't do. But according to Jess Kasuf, they are looking at the idea of adding what they have called high impact players, or instead of DPs, hips. We're gonna have hips in the NWSL. So
hips don't lie.
I will read directly from Jeff's article. He says the new mechanism, which multiple sources has been dubbed behind the scenes as high impact player, described who would be eligible for the new funds, would allow teams to spend up to 1 million over the salary cap on top end players while incurring only a portion of that salary as a cap hit. Um, it's kind of the DP rule from MLS, but it's
Yeah.
also not, because there are other things here, and this is very important. The spirit of the rule, however, is that there are guidelines for teams on who qualifies as a high impact player, and that the funds should be spent on retaining and attracting the world's best talent. Those guidelines would vary from the league's previous form of allocation money, which was used freely by means in all sorts of transactions. Sources said that the high impact player, HIPS, must meet some requirements from a list of sporting and commercial benchmarks to be eligible for the fund. Sporting benchmarks discussed in board deliberations, including rankings on lists like Ballon d'Or, appearances on the NWSL Best 11, U.S. women's national team minutes earned, and all in recent years. The board also discussed players' commercial profiles. Sources confirmed, further indicating the profile of players being targeted by these new funds. I think it's really interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about what these benchmarks are and what the commercial ones are, but they're not like so different from a DP, right? A DP in MLS, you could just say, I want to make this guy a DP, and there's no stipulations to whether you anybody could be it. Like I could make Angulo a DP if I wanted to, but that would be crazy. But you could, right? Like there is a world in which you could take any player and put them on a DP contract. What NWSL is saying with this high impact players is that they have to qualify from not just like a sporting but also a commercial point of view. So like, are they a sellable face? Are they somebody that is actually bringing in revenue to therefore justify being paid so much outside of the salary cap? Luis, what is your initial thoughts and feelings about hips?
I mean, they're doing all of this for Cheney Rodman, and
Yeah, that's the other part. This is all
I
Rodman.
really I have an issue with that because I mean it's gonna sound so bad, but I don't care. I mean she ain't all that, my friends.
I think there is an idea that Rodman
And
is she's not the MVP of the league, right? But she has
and,
some of this
and
commercial, which is I
also
think where they're coming from there.
and also what about the Haley McCutcheons? You know, what about the Carriabellos? Are they not high impact players? Like, well,
You've
who's
got,
gonna
I mean, it doesn't help if you're defenders getting in best
right,
11s is not like
right?
how many
So,
fullbacks get in there just because they score goals, right?
so
Over center backs.
what if I'm not a striker? So I've not been in the Ballon d'Or. What if I've been in 30 MLS best 11s and I've been
What if
called
you're
out
a
by the women's
goalkeeper?
national team, but they've never put me in because my coach wants to put Girma on. I'm not a high impact player. So it just kind
Yeah.
of raises a lot of questions that
It's a
I
lot
just
of
think,
gray area, isn't it?
yeah. So it's just, I feel like it's gonna cook. It could cost a little bit of even what determines a high impact player. I mean, are you talking about signing like the Messis or like the the big the Martas? Like maybe that's it. But how many of those do you have? I mean, are you gonna have Vomati come down here? You know what I mean? Like, think Vomati will she fit as a high impact player?
Yeah. I'll read you more of this. Among the qualifications discussed were even third-party media outlet rankings of top world players and most marketable athletes, sources said, although it is unclear if those qualifications made the final criteria. The cap charge of each high impact player is still being finalized ahead of the board vote this week. One source told ESPN that the cap hit of the player's salary will need to be 12% of the team's total cap before the HIP funds can be utilized. So not only are we getting the idea of like, okay, this is a high impact player, but there's stipulations of like how much of the salary you can pay them, like how much of the cap they can impact. Obviously, we talked about Trinity Rodman, and this is all because of that situation. And we know Haley Carter is extremely good at what she does. So if Haley is now in charge of the Washington Spirit and figuring out how to make sure that Trinity Rodman stays in this league, Haley will move heaven and earth to do so. And she's obviously, I don't know if her or somebody in the league and a team of people have come up with the idea of going down the route of using the MLS idea of DPs, but in their own way, and tying it in. I think the league they want to make it happen, right? The league wants to keep Trinity Rodman, but they can't just allow you know spirits to obviously pay her above the salary cap. So they're trying to find a way that works for all, and they're trying to figure it out. But for me, it's just a lot of scrambling. It's a lot of, oh no, we're going to lose Trinity Rodman. Let's try and do something and have to add new rules in order so we can keep this player and they can sign them. It's the same way that, Lionel Messi and Jorge Mas will just push
Exactly.
the envelope with MLS and then go, oh, well,
Same
because this
thing.
player is so good, you got to figure out how can we keep them? How can we do this or that? And I think it's a shame because if NWSL had just raised the salary cap sooner, if they just were more ambitious with how much they want to spend on their athletes, then we wouldn't be in this scenario. And I think that they were in a war right now. We were in a war with the WSL. The NWSL and the WSL are in a race to be the best league in the world. And LWSL doesn't have any salary restrictions. They don't have any of this. And they're backed by Premier League teams that have buckets of money and they don't care how much they spend on the women's game. So this idea of, we need to have a salary cap, I like it, but it cannot inhibit the league's ability to be the best league in the world, to be competitive with the top teams in the world. And if that does happen, then the salary cap has to be raised, in my opinion, to the point where you're not pushing up against it. Now, for years, we know they have been pushing up against it. I know Haley Carter's talked about it, frustrations and the fact that she thinks that the salary cap should just be gone entirely. I don't agree with that, but I do think it is a problem. And because they haven't dealt with it, now you're in this scenario where we're coming up with hips because they want to keep Rodman so badly in the league. And my fear is that now that we've gone down the mechanism road, Luis, like we saw what happened with MLS. Like you add one mechanism, you add another mechanism, then you've got this mechanism to sort that mechanism, and it's just a
And then
craziness that
every
it
year,
doesn't need to be. Salary cap is great. Just keep it high enough where it's not an issue.
yeah, every year is a new mechanism. With it's happening now with Inter Miami because of Lionel Messi. So
I mean, you need
if
to
at some
understand
point,
MLS. Like, we do not want to get to that point.
right? So we just gotta get the salary cap to a level that teams feel comfortable into. Um, Not only we're not undermining American talent and just building super teams, even though that's what Europe wants to do. I mean, Europe doesn't have a cap, and they already have a system their leagues. Brings a lot of British and people that defend their colors pretty great. And I think the United States is in the same boat. It just needs to get I think putting this hip thing, I think may undermine that too. So, want to keep going?
Now, read some comments, and then we'll talk a little bit more on this.
All right. Of all sad words, is that absolutely hate the focus on marketability and popularity, but it doesn't surprise me at all. Who cares if you're good at soccer as long as thousands of little girls want your $200 jersey? Correct. Stream Jesus sub boys. I'm excited for both teams. Get new jerseys next season. What's up, my friend? Stream Jesus. Appreciate you. Sporty Mouse 1 says totally against this hip deal. Just raise the cap, and Rodman is not that important to make changes to the league rules. Thank you, Sporty Mouse. Stream Jesus, this Rodman situation gives me the heebie-jeebies.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies too, Stream Jesus.
Yeah.
I think Sporty Mouse is dead right. And just,
yeah.
I think the idea that Trinity Rodman is like Messi level of good it needs to be checked, because I don't think that's true. And I think also she has a lot of injuries.
She's
and
not
we might be busting this whole rule out for her to play like 5 games this year. Like I'm not that could be totally accurate. She has been really, like, she's got back problems that don't go away. They don't. So it's I don't know if the NWSL wants to break the whole idea of what they've been doing out in order to be able to make this happen. I want to read a bit more in here. Jeff saying board approval is not necessary. The final hurdle for the rule, section 8.16 of the league's collective bargaining agreement with the NWSL Players Association states NWSL may, in its discretion, after consultation with NWSLPA, reduce or eliminate the salary cap charge against the team salary cap for certain roster classifications. So basically, we're just waiting on the NWSLPA to approve, but they were very much in favor of finding a way to keep Trinity Rodman, right? There was the rejection before from the league, the NWSLPA were like, you can't do this. So it seems pretty much like this is wanted. Of course, the players want to be able to make more money. They want to be able to figure that out. I think there's a lot of gray area here over who qualifies, why they qualify, etc. And if we're going to go back to those qualifications, I immediately was like, well, who do we have in our roster that we could just turn into a high impact player? And Luis, there's 2 straight off the bat. I'm sure you'd agree that Barbara Banda and MARTA should just be high impact players. Immediately change them on the salary on the roster, take that wage, take it down out of there. If that's what they're going to do with Rodman, definitely, in my opinion, MARTA and Barbara should qualify.
How many high impact players should you have?
I messaged Jeff in his article. I posted on, I can't remember what it was. I commented saying, can you tell me how many hips you can have? Like, because he doesn't mention
2.
that here. I don't know if it's 1. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, or whether it's a certain amount of money based on several players. Like, can you have a certain amount of hip, right? Like, salary cap? I don't know how they're doing this. It leaves a lot of open-ended questions. Of course, it's not all figured out, and I'm sure. Well, actually, no, I'm not sure. I would say that they would announce all this to us, but no, they don't. The NWSL doesn't MLS, arguably, there's a whole rule book you can go look up. You can download. I can bring you the rules of MLS. It's a Bible if you want to read it, but you can't do that with NWSL. I can't go download the league guidelines. Like a lot of that information is kept internally between the front offices and the league, and we hear little bits in here and there about, for example, the salary cap, right? But we only know that because it's in the NWSLPA, like it's in the Players Association document that is public knowledge. So the
Now,
NWSL is not open about what they're doing. So this idea that you could have high impact players, then I would be like, okay, well, what is a high impact player? How can we have one? How does
how
it
many?
work? And they might just decide all that internally. They might reject our application for Marta to be a high impact player, and then we never know, right? Like this is not like we're going to sign a player and it's on the contract and we know exactly. We've never
Also,
known. We don't get the breakdown of the salary cap and the roster and who gets paid what.
yeah, also if we have general managers, we have scouts, we have coaches in a front office, in a club for the NWSL, their say should be respected. And if you have somebody above from the league, so Orlando, let's say, says, okay, this is my list for 2027, and I want Banda on a hip, I want Emily Sams on a hip, and I want Haley McCutcheon on a hip. And then if those three get rejected, and then Washington against Bonmati, we could be seeing also, it has happened in other leagues in soccer, that there is a push for the narrative for certain teams within a league. Just like Barcelona and Real Madrid working in Spain, and they get the best of the best. Same as in other countries. In Peru, for example, is Alianza Lima and Universitario. In England, it could be Arsenal and right now Manchester City, right? In Brazil, it could be Flamengo and Palmeiras. So there's always teams that moving the needle. Okay, which team sells more? The league, and we're going through this downright spiral of picking and choosing.
Yeah.
Without saying that we're picking and choosing. You know what I
Well,
mean? Yeah.
I mean, there's this idea of like one of the highest paid players in the league is Sophia Wilson, right? And then if you look at her best seasons in NWSL, she's only scored like 14 goals, but she's got that commercial side. She's got the U.S. women's national team side. So she probably qualified for this, even though she hasn't been like, the best players in the league so far recently. They've been scoring like 20. You're looking at Shawinga as the example. A lot of these U.S. women's national team players in actual, the league haven't been putting up those kind of numbers or haven't been as dominant as she has. So I think there's a lot of gray area here around why you qualify, how you qualify, and especially Emma Hayes has got like a lot of people moving in and around the U.S. women's national team. It's going to be difficult. I think, and interesting here, Jeff also says, Louise, is that this he says the high impact player rule, he says the new concept is more akin to allocation money. So MLS has multiple forms of that, including target allocation money that was created to increase the paying of starting level players and deepen rosters. TAM has a cap too, similarly, but the NWSL's new role is clearly geared towards the world's elite players in a more specific way than TAM. But if you think about what they're doing is they're using funds to like buy down certain roster players, right? So you kind of like in MLS we have DPs and we have TAM, but arguably what Jeff's here is saying, and I agree with, is more likely that this is kind of that mechanic of the target allocation money where you're using specific funds just to buy down, hip players. So we'll have to see how this all shakes out. But I'm not really excited by it, Luis. I think it's a means to an end, and I would rather just raise the salary cap. I would rather the NWSL call an emergency meeting and say, if we want to keep this player, we want to push to make things better, faster. We feel like we need to raise the salary cap sooner. Let's make that happen. And instead, they're just trying to make it work for really, which will benefit one team. It might benefit all the teams if they all use it, but it's the causation of this is not being fueled by multiple teams, right? It's mainly seemed that it's coming from the issues that were happening here with Rodman.
Also, and I'm sorry to be so negative, but I've seen it happen in South America, for example, in which agency groups buy out people within a league that have them are the decision makers, and they like to represent certain players. And are those players going to be high impact players? What if it's a high impact player that, yeah, their face is sellable and all of that, but it's a terrible person and has had issues with, fence walking, or issues with saying things online that should not be saying, and being offensive, or being just a bad rep? Is that still a high impact player? So the vague, it's just so vague to execute something that's so vague. To me, it just screams that it cannot work. You know what I mean? And we just, the NWSL, I understand they want to. It also has to do, and I'm sorry I'm going to say this, it's also had to do with culture, the soccer culture. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. One of the things that the WSL, like John was saying, it's brewed. These are teams that they know the game for decades, some even centuries. You know what I mean? There are teams in the UK that have over 100 years old. I mean, probably not playing right now in the WSL, but there are teams like so in the fourth division, third division. So we gotta understand it's a rich soccer culture country, in general, and so in the United States, we're getting to that level. We're not yet at that level. That's why we have so many laws and rules and regulations. So, um, I mean, if you give a promising player, like for example, coming from whatever club in South America, the opportunity to play in Utah Royals or Southampton, UK women, Southampton women, you know, and she's seen Southampton in the Premier League. More than likely, it's gonna pick Southampton. You know what I mean? It's just, for some players, it's not just about the money. It's also about the opportunity and where they're gonna be able to excel and what comes with the league. And there's some markets that are not gonna be as marketable as a New York, as a LA, as a San Diego. And so what? The other teams are going to have to suffer and be crappy teams. And then so we're going to now pick and choosing markets now. So it's a revolving door, in my opinion. So hopefully we get this groundwork laid out, all the rules straight, thrown out by Mr. Jeff Kassouf, which, by the way, loves wearing shorts. I mean, that man loves wearing shorts. I could tell you. He can rock some shorts, and he brings his pants, and he changes, when it gets a little cold. I've never seen that before. Fantastic. But we'll move on.
You don't know what's going to happen these winter nights. It could be hot or cold. On this same kind of subject, Lisa, I want to just talk about NWSL in general and its growth. And I think a lot of this we're seeing, this invention of the high impact player and the Rodman situation. This is all new territory for NWSL that didn't have any of these issues before. So it's a lot of what I would call NWSL growing pains. And now if we think about when the league first started, Luis, and I think you all the way back to that first gig you had covering the Pride in its inaugural season, that first season of NWSL, this was the third iteration of the women's league in this country. And the U.S. women's national team had so many safety wheels that they were helping with, where we signed Alex Morgan because the U.S. women's national team paid her salary and just decided that Orlando was a new team and they're going to send her there. Same with, Ashton Morgan. I'm sorry, with Ashton Harris and, Sidney Naru, a bunch of those players that were paid by the U.S. women's national team. And that was the beginning of NWSL. That's what it was in those early days. It was, very fragile, right? It was they were so worried that it wasn't going to make it 3 years. So take yourself back to that time, Louise, and think about how much it's changed since then.
There's been a lot of growth, you know. But with that is, there's a lot of teams that have been very forward thinking. I think the game has grown tremendously. There's been a heavily investment from people really no relation, not that had no relation to women's sports, like the Wills, for example, investing heavily into operations, for the operations to be better, investing in people, in quality, in coaches, and creating a process and to create a pipeline for new players, right? And we've seen that by teams also like Kansas City, for example, right? With markets like Washington, with the Kangs and stuff like that. So it's growing, but we also have to understand, we have to make sure that all teams, especially in a growing league, it's marketable enough that some of them can get also pretty good high impact players. You know what I mean? Because it's probably easier to market a New York City or a Washington than market an Orlando. And so we have to, if we're just right now, like I said, with this rule, picking and choosing, a lot of the top quality players want to go to New York, want to go to LA, want to go to, and Orlando, what's he gonna get? You know what I mean? And so we gotta maintain the same level of quality all around, because in England, for example, you see it happening. You see someone like Poppy Pattinson going from Everton to West Ham to Arsenal, then not to Tottenham. And so it's just, and these are all teams that are already have fans, and these are teams that have been running business for a long time. And the NWSL is brand new, and I think we need to do things our own way, the American way. Don't be afraid of having some rules that are going to benefit the American viewer. The American viewer can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. This is very vague, John. I don't have a lot of faith in this hip thing. The hips don't lie, though.
The hips don't lie. In terms of like other issues, I think the NWSL, like it still faces a lot of problems. Player welfare is one of them, and a lot of players still don't get paid enough money. Like they don't get paid enough. A lot of them have second jobs. Like still, like they'll work the summer, they'll be doing jobs throughout the summer when they should be resting. They'll be running camps out of necessity because they have to. They have to keep money coming in. They're not getting paid year round, etc. Obviously, the addition of the CBA, etc. That's given players more rights, and it's helping them be able to negotiate better with the league and have those things come in. But we still see a lot of issues. The removal of the draft was good because it's allowed players to like truly feel like they have a free market. Like the draft was nice because you had players coming out of college, but it wasn't nice because you told them where to go play. And that's something that they're trying to move away from, this idea of, you're an owned player in the league and I can trade you here and there and you can go, and you don't get a right to refusal or any of that. So they're trying to move into more of the standard of what we see around the world, where the players have the power to choose, do I want to sign a contract? Do I not? Do I want to go to this club? Do I not? I think also we've seen lots of other issues, Luis, like the issue we had with the game trying to be played in the middle of the summer in Kansas, or the issues we've had with players not being taken off the field fast enough with head injuries. There's issues with some of the operations of the club and the way that things are happening. There's been numerous things happening behind the scenes throughout clubs where scandals have come out about this or that, and that doesn't seem to have gotten better over the years. We're still having issues with all kinds of things behind the scenes that then come out later, whether that's abuse or whether it's cultural issues or other things. So I think the NWSL it's stable, but it needs to do a lot more, and it needs to do things a lot better. And I'm definitely questioning whether Commissioner Berman is the right person to lead this team. I feel perhaps it needs to have a new leadership, and I think that often we're looking at these issues like retrospectively, and it's like this could have been prevented, like this Trinity Rodman situation. Like, it's been happening for the last few years. They've been pushing up against the salary cap, and we've been losing players. Like, I know everybody's talking about like the Alyssa Thompson and the other ones like Naomi Gurma that we've already lost to Europe. And is this going to continue? And I feel like Berman needs to get ahead of this stuff, needs to get ahead of the behind the scenes issues that are then coming out and causing problems. So I think this one is another one of those where they failed to do anything, and now you're having to scramble and react to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah, also while the NFL, NWSL is growing, it's again, it's you have to understand, some of these players. So I'm talking about the high impact players, especially from the U.S. women's national team. If we don't act now to get some sort of level of parity between all teams, what's going to happen is it's going to happen just like in the men's game. The MLS is a team in which, yeah, we have great, phenomenal talent, but old players from Europe, the Poppy Pattinsons or the Bomatis, that are getting to a certain age, they come here, they get paid as a high impact player, and Europe gets their prime days, and then our team becomes a league in which becomes more like a farming league in which we have the young a young Emily Sams that plays several seasons with Orlando, and then decides, hey, Arsenal wants to pay me triple, and I'm going to be in the Premier League, in the WSL, and it becomes that situation. If we want to make sure that we still are the best team in women's soccer, we just have to either take some of these restrictions, raise the cap, or find some sort of level of parity, because the parity is important for all teams. I think if we start right now picking and choosing which market is going to have the best players, we're going to be creating the whole super teams concept, and it's just going to be a mess. And history wise, which matters in the sport of soccer, we're going to start seeing that too. A player is going to, some players are going to say, hey, even though United States pays well, my dream has always been to play for Barcelona. And even though Barcelona is going to pay me 100K less, I want to go to Barcelona. That's what I want to do. And, we got to be ready for that as well. But, I am more concerned of our young talent being poached, by the WSL. That's
Yeah. I mean, that it's the other teams in Europe that are big too, not just the WSL, but that's the league that we're competitive directly, I think. And the
and also,
NWSL is arguably better because it is more even, and that's why I don't want to get rid of the salary cap, because it's a
yeah,
fairly it it's not like
it's
super
competitive.
even, but it is competitive, and you do see a certain amount of And if you have no salary cap, then the Spirits and the KC Currents, they'll probably spend a lot more than us, and they'll probably go further than us, and there'll be nothing to hold them back. So I'm not advocating that I want to hold them back, but I'm saying that everybody needs to be raised at the same rate. And if you just have nothing on top of that, then some teams can just fly up, and then your Chicago Stars are really screwed. Now the Chicago Stars, they still kind of have a fighting chance because of that, right? But if you just let teams do what they want, this idea of parity will completely go out the window. And if you look at WSL, a lot of the bottom two or three teams have really absolutely no chance, and they get very, very little points against your top two or three teams. So the disparity in that league is much larger, and I feel like NWSL will lose that if we lose the salary cap entirely.
Yeah, I will lose a little bit of competitiveness because, again, who determines what's a high impact player? And also, it is, you could get, three players. You got, essentially the game is played with 11 players. If let's say your high impact players are only going to be two or three, what kind of players are you going to be surrounding them with? You know, at that point, so again, we're going to go into this downward spiral into contradicting ourselves. Either we want to be a forward thinking league in which we support all women and women's sports and do things our way, right? Our way, that's going to benefit the women's sports of the United States, the United States soccer leagues, right? Well, obviously the NWSLs and the USLs for soccer in America, or we want to be just like Europe, you know. And we gotta get it right, We got that's why I feel like the way we have it now, even the scheduling, it's very competitive. Playing the same teams three times, everybody's gonna get better. I feel like, for example, with this high impact player thing, it would have
Mm.
been tougher for Orlando to go to the 2024 season. Having somebody like Haley Carter coming in and with her forward thinking self making all these changes, she would have probably had a little bit more kickback with this, high impact situation happening for the Pride. So again, hopefully we get more information on how all of this is going to play out. I heard that it's going to be $1 million over the salary cap.
I don't know exactly. I mean, I question, like we said, how many is that, one player? Is that four players? Is that
Exactly.
there's so many questions. Like, until this is ratified and announced by NWSL as an official rule, and even then, they might not tell us the ins and outs. They might just be like, we've added high impact players, but not tell us what. Like I said, they don't usually disclose this kind of information. All right, focusing on Orlando Pride, let's have a look at our squad depth, and kind of talk about what we feel are issues in the offseason. I think I have this accurate, Luis. If there's a player I'm missing, or if in the chat, if you're like, wait, where's this player? Let me know. I just updated this from last season, and kind of
It's
took
good.
away all the players that I feel like we don't have, and added, one player that we have now in Haley Mace. I think there's some debate around positions. Let's start at goalkeeper. Anna Morehouse, arguably still the number one. Cosette Morche, McKinley Crone still on the roster as your backup or your other options in goalkeeper. I would love to see Cosette Morche get a chance this year, at least to compete with Anna for the first team spot. But I think more likely we'll probably see Anna again.
Yeah, we're gonna see Anna again. I think goalkeeping corps, we're good to go. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think this is a solid group regardless. I mean, Anna is what she is. I'm not. I don't love her as a goalkeeper, but she's still very good. So I think she's been consistent enough to show that she can get us, into the latter end of the season and be good enough to get us where we need to go. So I don't think if you don't need to change the goalkeeper position, I think a lot of people wouldn't.
We need new faces left wing. We need depth on right wing. We
Yeah,
need
sorry, I
depth.
was going to go through just positionally for a second before we jump forward. But can we start with fullbacks? So you got Carriabello. I put Corey Dyke over there, but
Yeah,
arguably Corey
fine.
Dyke. I mean, we've seen her there, but she could be at the right back position.
I
So
think we're good there.
we don't have another naturally left-footed left back outside of Carriabello. Do you think that's something we might want, or do you think Corey Dyke could fill that role
I think Corey
just as
Dyke could
well?
fill that. I think Corey Dyke could fill that for sure.
Which is kind of
I
two per
feel
position.
I feel we should get somebody for Kylie Strom's position. I think a center back that could play
Sorry, yeah,
left back.
she's still called Strom in this one. It's
Yeah.
Nadanner.
Kylie Nadanner, sorry.
But I mean, I think really Rafaeli would be the number one
The
over her,
starter,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I would have a center back that could play left back. And if he could play both left back and right back, would be great. But if you think about it, you have Emily Sams could play right back. Hernandez plays right back. Haley Mace is going to be probably the starter.
Yeah,
Then
we
you
got
have
a lot of
already,
right backs.
and then Shavoshi can also play back.
Haley McCutcheon
So,
could play right back.
so I think we need a little bit of depth on that position for Kylie because she probably will be gone for a while, right?
Yeah, so
And
let's say Kylie backseat and arguably, Corey more likely over here.
and then we could get another left back that could play maybe center back or maybe even a center back and a left back.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think a center back and a left back will probably be the best.
I like that.
Yeah, left back. Yeah.
All right. Oyane, do we feel like because Haley Mace is here that Oyane will move up?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like she's still going to play right back?
With knowing Seb, it will be versatility. So
Yeah.
I'll probably keep her there, but eventually
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably see her as a right winger.
All right. In central defensive mid, do we need one more? Oh, I forgot. Viv is still here. She's not on there.
Yeah. I would get somebody that is hungry on that position. Somebody that is able to compete with Angelina. I think Angelina, we've seen an Angelina that really has not had a lot of an impact. I would like to see somebody that's going to take the reins if needed be. I think Alan Limo's had a great end of the season. I think Haley did great. Luana, I think she came phenomenal in the second half. But we need somebody that's going to light some fire in Angelina.
Yeah.
On that.
I mean, I have Marta up here in the center attacking mid with Summer Yates, but really this season, like last, we were playing the 4-3-3. So you had Angelina, McCutcheon, and Limos all on the field at the same time as three holding midfielders, or one holding and two central midfielders.
Yeah, we need also somebody that could score some goals there on the midfielder position. So I have a name if you want me to give it to you.
Yeah, sure.
I have I would love for the Pride to go and target Ashley Puerta from the USL Super League from Sporting Jacksonville. She has 10 goals and 5 assists. 10 goals and she's had a lot of assists and chances created for Sporting Jacksonville right now. She's Ewan's women future decorated player for sure. I think she would fit tremendously with not only compete as the number 10 for the Pride, but also could play one of those other mid positions there. And I don't know if they're going to be like, players, any sort of more name recognizable players at all. But I just feel like There you go. You're putting Angelina there. You're putting um there you go. Yeah. So I'll probably get a somebody like Ashley Porta. That'll be my pick. I don't know if people agree or not, but um I think we should get younger, hungrier.
Yeah.
Um and I would like that.
Another real true defensive mid. I would kind of argue that like Ali Lemos should be back here.
Yeah,
You know,
Alan
like
should be
I
back there.
don't like that Angelina seems to be the most far back of our. It's like
Well,
the idea is that she dictates the game from back there, but it doesn't really work that way very often.
yeah, I think Haley should be a defensive CDM.
Yeah.
Haley
Oh,
should
you
be
want
CDM,
Haley
and
there?
Angelina should
Okay.
go to CM where Luana
Okay.
is.
I would do the other. I would put
Yeah, or
Lemos
Lemos should
back
go with
there.
Luana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the same idea. I agree with that. But regardless, I think I don't love Ali Lemos as a starter. I think she did a decent job last year, but I'm not. I think we should be looking at her as the first sub for one of these three, right? That's what I think. And then Angelina needs to prove why she should be in the starting lineup. You could arguably go and get like or Luana. Is Luana ready to play more minutes? Because
I
Luana
think so.
could be ready to go again as a starting player. That would be great. She's very quality, but I just don't know if she's 90 minutes quality. I think we're missing one in the midfield at least, or maybe two, Luis.
Yeah, probably two. I want one that's defensive and one
Yeah.
that's gonna be creative.
I I don't think we should be giving a lot of minutes to Viv this year. Let's just
Yeah, I think
be
she
nice. I just don't I think we need to prioritize other players in the roster.
like she's gonna be third midfielder on the totem pole, in my opinion. And we need somebody that's gonna be right behind Angelina to compete with her. I think Haley did great last season. Luana came out great. Limos had a great end of the season. If we have somebody, two new additions in the mid, somebody that's going to motivate Angelina to play better, that's going to give some competition, and then somebody that's going to compete with Limos and McCutcheon, I think it would be probably the best decision to me, at least. And also with a person that could move the strings and be more of like present in the attack, like Angelina used to be. It could also help Marta if she decides to play, right at the 10, somebody that could play multiple positions, not only at the 10, but also as an interior midfielder, right or left.
I agree with that.
There you go.
Any other
I think we need a new left winger.
left winger? Yeah.
We need somebody that could either play both flanks, or we need because again, Marta, she's of age. Julie Dole really hasn't got a lot of an impact, and Summer Yates, she has a lot of injuries. So I'm okay with Julie staying, but I mean we need a left winger. We need somebody that's gonna match what Jackie Ovalle is gonna give, right up top.
Yeah, again, I don't know if we want Marta to be relying on her that much to be a starter. Summer Yates has done okay. Let's just put Julie Doyle over here, right? Let's put Summer Yates, Marta, and then potentially another player on who could play left. I mean, we got Simone Jackson. I think about that one.
Oh, I thought
So
she was traded.
Simone Jackson? No,
Oh, she wasn't? I thought she
I
did.
don't think so. No, I think she's still under contract. Um, unless I missed that and I'm misremembering. Julie Doyle, Grace Chanda, Jackie Ovalle on the right. So technically, right now we have, I would say, Summer Yates, Simone Jackson, Grace Chanda, Julie Doyle, Jackie Ovalle, Marta. In this formation, they're all wingers. Like, there's nowhere else you're going to play them in this 4-4-3 outside of that. So arguably, we have 6 wingers, but I don't think Grace Chanda does much for you in NWSL, if anything. Julie Doyle has shown real regression last year, and I just don't think you're going to get goals or assists out of her. Summer Yates, same thing. Like, she needs to have a much better season than last year. wasn't producing goals or assists. Simone Jackson, probably the best, most
The
bright
best
prospect
depth right
out
now.
of the best depth option. Jackie Ovai is a starter. Marsha's a starter, even though she's 40 years old almost. Like she shouldn't be a starter, but she's gonna be a starter based on the fact that she's here, she starts. So I arguably think we have one backup winger that I would actually want to play.
Yeah, we're
Like
gonna
Summer
need.
Yates, I think is probably the other one, but Grace Chanda and Julie Doyle, I am not got a lot of faith in them at the moment.
I I, I know they're gonna kill me. I don't have faith in Chanda. I think she's the depth of the depth. I have more faith in Julie Doyle. I hope she has a better season. But again, she's another piece of depth. Summer Yates, we'll see if she's healthy. If she's healthy, then great. We have great somebody that's ready to start some games. Simone Jackson, I think it's promising. I think we should, but I
Yeah.
believe we need to get a plug and play winger. We need to get a player that could either play right back, right wing, or left wing, or a left winger. You know, um, that could have that Sep could feel comfortable to plug in if Marta wants to play the 10, if Marta wants to stay in the bench for a little bit, if she's injured, and we're not going to lose quality in the pitch on the wings. So I think we should, for example, poach somebody from the NWSL, in my opinion, as a winger.
I think Julie Doyle to, Boston or one of the new teams like or California or something like I think it's time to move her on. I would also move Grace Chanda on. If I'm the new GM, those two I would
Yeah,
move on.
those two
I
will
would
go.
create space in the roster to bring in a new winger. I would then look at perhaps even like I think arguably Summer Yates could be playing here in the
Yep.
like in one of these
Uh-huh.
central
Yep.
mid positions. And then you're looking at Simone Jackson and two new wingers as your backups to Marta and Jackie. That's a lot of what ifs, right? But I think I think it needs to be done, right? I think we need to do something. And I think that the idea of like production needs to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So you can't have these backups that don't produce because like Jackie Ovalle isn't even really producing yet. So Marta is the only one of our attacking mids who's scoring goals and producing for us. Like that's not good. And
It's not good.
I don't think we can have a lot of maybes. Like we got to have some actual guarantees here. And I think it's time that we need new wingers. We needed new wingers last year. So if we go into another season with the same set of wingers, I don't think that's going to give us what we need.
Yep. I think we need to have two new wingers, and if we can make some cap space trading Julie Doyle for cash and Grace Chanda, send her to make some to make some magic somewhere else, and
I
then
will
maybe
say we're saying Grace's job on our roster is Barbara's friend. I mean, I don't like to think that. I don't like to think there's anybody in the roster who's just there for the sake of being there. But I did question when Haley renewed
well, we
her
had La
contract
Roquette.
as to why we were renewing the contract of a player that I didn't believe did anything for us. I don't think she's on a lot of money, but the issue is it's not even the money now. The issue is that we just don't have other. If she was the fifth choice winger and we had four other great wingers in front of her, I wouldn't care. But the issue is we don't have the backup we don't have the roster to be able to afford luxury players. Like I'm not in a luxury of a good way. I'm talking about luxury in the case of like they're just there. They're not doing anything. So I think that, Viv is another one that is Anna's other half, right? But she hasn't produced. She hasn't been good enough, I think, honestly, since she came back from injury. So are we just keeping players on the roster because they're, you know, as part of the team? Is that needed? I don't think so. I would like to think that we are more professional than that, and we're gonna actually do what's best for the team, not just keep people on the roster because they're friends of other people on the roster.
Yep. Okay, I agree with you.
Which is sounds harsh, and people might not like that take, but it's the truth. I mean, this is a business, this is a job. I can't turn around at my work and be like, "Oh, you can't fire this person because they're my bestie." Like, I mean, I'm being facetious, but it's the same thing, right? Like, I couldn't. What I my reason is because I like them. That's not legit. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. I mean, if you give me the magic wand, I would say I'll probably Chanda. Thank you so much for your time. Vib, Alianza Lima is calling you. Go make some history in Peru. And then summer, let's go to Orlando Health and see how you're doing. And then you're gonna be. I don't guarantee you a lot of minutes. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome. But you have certain metrics that you need to hit this year. We got to get to that point because I mean, this is a league in which everybody's gonna get better. And now we won the big one. We have to maintain that going. We can't regress. We're the champs. Orlando Pride is the only team that has given satisfaction to the city of Orlando. you know, so we gotta. And what John just put there is what we need. We cannot fathom of having again Barbara Banda. Poor Barbara Banda. Not only she has had bashings online for stupid people, but also we cannot depend just on Barbara Banda putting it in the net. We just can't. We need to get somebody that's going to complement Banda. And I'm not saying to score 14 goals just like her. I'm saying somebody that's going to be NWSL ready to maybe have scored 8 goals, 4 assists. If you get me an 8 goal, 4 assist player, it could probably be a good backup for Barbara Banda. You know, but we gotta get people that are ready to play right now. You know,
Yeah.
and if they can play the wing and play striker, even better.
Like someone who can score 5 goals in a year. It's not asking a lot. Like and they're not going to have to play a lot if Barbara's fit. Like it's the issue we have is we don't have anybody now because there's no Elise Bennett, there's no Simone Charlie. Like we're moving on from anybody on the rock. Like arguably Julie Doyle is the only other person you could play there, and she's okay as a striker, but that's not, I think, her best position. So we have nobody at backup striker. But not only that, whoever comes in at backup striker, the last ones we had didn't score goals. So they were just a body to be up there at number 9. They weren't a threat. They weren't really anything that the other team had to worry about. And that's not the case if you're one of the best. You look at the Washington Spirit, you look at Casey Kern, you look at whoever else in the league, the top teams. Like when Esther wasn't there, you had other strikers step in for New York City. When I'm blanking on the striker for like Kwasi isn't there, right? For example, for Spirit. So there's someone else that can step up and play that role, and they can still score goals and they can still contribute. We don't have it. We didn't have anybody. We don't have anybody. And that's a real issue. So you got to go out and find somebody that can put the ball in the net, like not even that much, like 5 or 6 times a year. Barbara's going to do it 20 times a year. Someone else needs to contribute a little bit here. Or if Barbara gets injured again, knock on wood, whatever, we're going to be back in the same situation as this year. We actually need someone that can help us play our way so that if Barbara's not there, we're at least close to being able to replicate the same tactics instead of like what happened this year where basically our entire game plan was lost and we had nobody that could do anything near what she could do.
Yeah, we need to get, for example, and again, I give you 2 names. For example, 2 players that are ready to go that will make an immediate impact. It'll be really big signings. Purse is one that's a free agent, and I will go
I
go to
think Mitch
Chicago.
Purse signed actually.
Sorry.
I think she signed. I think she renewed with case with
Oh, she
Chicago.
she renewed.
Yeah.
Oh well. I will go to Chicago and I will try to get Ludmila.
I mean, not a free agent, right? But she'd be a
Yeah,
good signing. Yeah, she'd be
I will
that
go. Be
that
like, hey,
winger. Sure.
Ludmila, what would it take to bring you into Orlando Pride?
There's a great question here from Sporty Mouse, which I think you should answer, Luis.
Says, are we missing out on potential players since we don't have a GM? Yes.
I
But
wanted you to answer that because I knew you just rip the Band-Aid off.
yeah, I think we are. I think, like I said, I mean, if I had,
The free agents, definitely. Maybe not a signing that would happen
I will
like
love. I will.
transfer, but the free agency that they're available right now, I don't think we're negotiating because we don't have anyone to steer the ship.
I mean, Ludmila will be a huge um pickup in my opinion. I mean, last time I saw her play, I'm like, she'll fit in Orlando. She'll love Orlando. Brazilian community here is huge. Like Marta's here. Like, it's right now she's under a 3-year contract. So she'll be a free agent at the end of 2026. Maybe Chicago will make a little bit of a trade. Look, give us Ludmila, we give you 3 public subs with some and a millie, and we give you Vivia Corta, we give you Julie Doyle, and the phenomenal Grace Chen. All packed into one big, lump sum and just go. And we'll get Ludmila to go help Barbara Banda. Ludmila, I think it would be a great pickup. For example, just one of those, you know. But definitely Barbara Banda needs help. We can't just have Barbara again re-injure herself, putting the whole team behind her back. Same with Marta, man. Marta should be enjoying. I mean, I know that she enjoys it, but I mean, she needs to be playing less minutes. That let's just be completely honest. You know what I mean? But Jackie Ovalle is not a physical specimen, just like Barbara Banda. And she was not as fast as Ali Watt. And because the NWSL is super physical, you don't see a lot of Jackie Ovalle, you know. So we need help up top, you know, badly, and we're missing a lot of opportunities by not having a GM. Do you know anything that's happening with the GM situation, John, at all?
Nope. I mean,
Gee.
I assume they're deep in talks to figure it out. I don't know how much like heads up they had from Haley. It seemed like it was somewhat planned. Like during the end of the season, they knew that this was coming. But yeah, I would hope that it would be a smoother transition. But we're definitely right now. I don't. They might have the new person in. They might be doing work behind the scenes, and they just haven't announced it yet. I don't know why they do that. But we don't know where they're at with the situation. We know that they've hired this HR company to do, I think it's the same one that they hired when they found Haley. So hopefully they're making the right decision. But right now, yeah, as far as we know, I don't know who's making decisions on the roster, whether they are, whether these are just the only deals that have done, or like the Haley Meese deal that was set by Haley before she left, and we're just treading water until the new GM comes in. That would be my guess, but it could be that the soccer ops team are making plans with Seb and they're working together without a GM at the moment. Who knows? Like, the scouting meetings are not just one person with Seb. Like the scouting meetings will be a whole team. So I'm sure they do that on a weekly basis and other things, but they might not have anybody to go out and make the phone calls and actually negotiate on their behalf right now. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the longer it goes on, the longer we are without, a leader who makes these decisions, the less likely we are to see changes in the roster before the new season. A lot of this, like our shopping list we put here, a new center back, a new left back, a new seed. If we boil it down to like what we actually need, like a striker for sure. Like we cannot start the season without a striker. Maybe another left back is kind of essential, but you could put Corey Dyke there. Outside of that, there's not a you could start the season with this team and be decent. I would like to see more change, more new players like we put in here, a new center mid, a new CDM, some new wingers, a new center back. But a lot of the team is ready to go. So I think the longer we don't have a GM, the more likely is we're just going to roll with what we've got. And the sooner we get somebody in, the more likely it is we're actually going to see some real changes and maybe some player sales. Like we talked about some of these players under a new GM, they might want to move them on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players right now in the free agency as well that they could target right now that's still available. Sophia Wilson is one of them. That's like
Yeah, she's
the
one
big,
of the top ones. Yeah,
and she would be
if you
a
could get her on the new hip deal, that might be worth it. But
yeah,
I don't know how
25.
you have to go two up top. I don't know how you have Barbara and Wilson.
Yeah, 25 years old, Portland Thorns, forward. It'll be definitely right behind Banda, sharing minutes with her, maybe playing on a system with two forwards. Also another one that it doesn't have the best numbers, but it could have a lot of upside. Olivia Wingate, they used to play in North Carolina Courage. I mean, we have you know I mean, there's been not a lot to pick from, but obviously Tierney Rodman's one of them. That'll be quite a splash.
There's also players that are 6 months away in Europe from being out of contract. Some big players.
Which one?
So potentially, I saw Bon Mati as one of them. Potentially, you could sign a player in January because they're 6 months out and the team is like, hey, I want to sell them before they run out of contract. So you could see some moves happening. There was talk of, I saw an article about Kat Macario and some NWSL teams going in for her, a similar situation. Like, is she one that could be stolen away? If your player is going to run out of contract 6 months from now, and they won't sign a new deal, this is the time to bring them in this window.
Bring her to Orlando.
We'll see, but there are some big European names that could still be attracted over here, and that's the kind of scenario where their club is like, they won't sign a new deal. We're going to lose them anyway. We might as well sell them over to the NWSL.
Yeah, Cat will love it here. I think Cat will
Kat
love it
McCarry
here.
would be huge. That would be. I'd love to see her in the 10 behind Barbara. That would be amazing.
Yeah, Cat love it here. She'll be with Marta. She'll be with Rafa. She'll be meshing very well in the team. And she'll be Barbara Band and Kat Macario as part of the striking corps for Orlando Pride will be a 1-2 punch. I mean, that will definitely put us over the hill for the playoffs, just to have that up top. But that's kind of like the ambition that we need to see. I mean, that is picking what Haley left and running with it, and we need to see that level of aggressiveness when it comes to these signings coming up. Because if we see, okay, we're gonna keep these, and we'll see what happens, and we'll start seeing Jackie Ovalle as a striker. I'm gonna go get some brewskis and cry away. We can't be doing that. The Sporty Mouse says, it seemed like some of the Italians enjoy their time in Orlando. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we got a lot of good. They liked the stadium and everything. So, look, I mean, we saw Cantore come over and play for Washington Spirit, like Juve, Fiorentina, Lazio, Roma. There's a lot of good, players there that I don't feel like the Italian Women's League is attractive enough for them to say no. I think if you want to go poach from other leagues around the world, you can definitely do that. It's really just other certain teams that might be like, you know, this is not the move for me. But a lot of Europe, a lot of the German teams, a lot of the French teams, a lot of the lower WSL teams for sure, Italian teams, you can go to any of those and go, come over, play for Orlando Pride. This is a step up. This is a bigger club for you, etc. It's really only the top European clubs that I don't think would say this is the right move for them. Like if you're playing for Chelsea, maybe a Cat Macario would say Orlando isn't the team for me, but it could be. We don't know.
Look, we can get somebody like Alex Kerr from
Hey,
Italy
well,
who played
Samantha
in.
Kerr apparently is also an option.
Well, there you go. We can get two Kerrs for. I mean, I'm telling you, Kerr, Alex Kerr. She used to play for the Pride, and she did great when she got minutes. She's playing for
She would
Cuomo,
score 5 or 6 goals for Orlando Pride if she was
100%. I
here as a
mean,
backup. Yeah.
so the season for Cuomo in the 2023 season, 2023-2024. She only played maybe in the NWSL, but then on the 24-25 season, she had for Cuomo in 14 games. Obviously, the Serie A, it's plays a little different. 4 goals, 2 assists. And then in the Coppa Italia, 2 goals, 2 assists. So she scored 6 goals, 4 assists. She got over 14,000 minutes. Now, this year, the 2025-2026 season just started. She has right now in eight games 1 goal right now. So I mean, again, this is not a player that's gonna take away out of Barbara Banda's shadow, but it's gonna be an effective player when it comes to the crosses from Marta. She's physical. She knows she could play the NWSL. She's excelled in Seth Hines' system. So I think it'd be. I mean, why not? I mean, should be out of contract after December. I'm sure Cuomo will try to fight with us to pick her contract for a couple more years. But I mean, if you give her the opportunity to come back to the NWSL, I'm sure she'll sign a heartbeat.
Yeah. We'll see.
It's their names.
Was there anything else you want to talk about this Luis today on the Pride Pod, or any questions in the chat before we get out of here?
Right here, no. Sporty Mouse. We're talking about the Italians, but yeah, it's gonna be a season in which we need to see first of all who's gonna have the reins of the keys of the castle, and make sure that that person is filling all the gaps, because what we need is definitely depth, a little bit more versatility up top, and less injuries. So because there were times that Simone Jackson missed time, Summer Yates missed time tremendously, Grace Chanda also missed time. We need everybody to be 100%. So we'll see where this free agency takes us, but it's exciting nonetheless. We're still going to be here supporting and putting out content, so we're definitely good things are coming. I'm gonna be my positive self, John.
We love to hear it. Yeah, excited for a new season. Of course, we want to know who the new GM is. Let's see who these signings are that come in. But like I said, I don't think we're in a bad situation. But I would like to see some action happen this off season.
100%. Well, we will be back next week. Stay tuned. We just did the City Pod an hour ago, so make sure to check it out. We are available on all social media platforms: X, Blue Sky, also Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, ILP_podcast, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. Thank you for your support. We have one more comment. Sporty Bounds, is it possible to promote from within for a GM? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Haley wasn't a GM before we signed her
Yeah.
to be our GM. Definitely. I mean, it has to be the right person, right? They have to be able to step up into that leadership role. So
I mean, you imagine if Kaká becomes.
maybe Marta's the new GM. I would love GM Marta. I
I
can.
would
I don't
love
care
GM
who
Marta
she
too.
signs. The amount of passion she would be like, "I bring you a player." I'd love
No,
it.
plus, you imagine getting a call from Marta, like, "Hey, I want you in my
Yeah.
team." There's a different level of status right there.
One day, I think she's more of a coach. I think she's
Yeah.
more of a I got to touch grass kind of player. But I don't see her in an office. But yeah, I think it would be cool. I don't think it necessarily like we're talking about the GM needs to be a GM, but it might not be. They might.
Seb
What
could
if
be a
they
good
made
GM
Seb the
too.
GM and then brought in a new coach? They might do that. I don't think Seb would do that. I think he's another one that likes to be out there touching grass. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, Luis. I'm hopeful. I think that they know that they need to it needs to be a splash. I don't think they can. I think the fear, if you promote within, is that that might not go down well enough, right? I think that having lost Haley, people are wanting something as good, right? Which I don't think is possible because I think she was one of the best there is, but you need to try and soften the blow by replacing her with somebody that has the pedigree and can do the job. I think from the off, I don't think this is the time for unproven candidates. Sadly,
100%. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you. And hopefully we get the best GM and is able to take over Haley and make sure to get those positions ready for us to get some depth. And we're gonna have a hungrier, faster Barbara Banda hopefully next season. So
let's see.
we'll see how that
Um,
pans out.
if anything happens this week, if they do name a GM or if we sign any players,
We'll be there.
we'll make some content on that and we'll put it out for you guys to see. But if not, we'll definitely be back here next Monday to talk more Orlando Pride with y'all.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel. Click the bell for all notifications. And again, thank you guys for your support always. And again, we'll see you guys next week. And vamos, Pride. Take care,
Thank you very
guys.
much. Vamos Pride.